Friends, hello everyone. I am glad to see you on my channel, and today we have a painting lesson. And in this lesson, we will draw a postcard. Here is such a beautiful postcard with a seascape theme. But the uniqueness of this lesson is not only that I will tell you how to write such a picture, but also that I will tell you how to make such a good, competent bend, like on postcards that are sold in a store. The fact is that if you try to bend just 300 grams of paper per meter, there is some way to move it. Then you will not get such a bend. You will most likely have such an uneven, crumpled, more like a dent, paper. It will be injured at the same time, and it will not close until the end. So there is a certain technique that I learned in the lessons of the defense industry of three-dimensional composition at the architectural college. I am happy to share this with you today. So take note, make postcards, give them to your friends, acquaintances for some reason or no reason, as I do. I actually have a lot of these postcards, and that's not all. I just take and draw small postcards at my leisure. They can be of different formats. They can be like this, a little less. They can be a little more. Here, I sign with some wise thoughts. For example, to do with people the way you want them to do with you. These are the words of Jesus Christ. Here, and I just give them sometimes even to people on the street, unfamiliar passers-by. So, by the way, if you want to receive such a postcard from me, then write to me in Yandex. Direct, I want a postcard and an address to which you can send it, and I will send you a postcard. Well, that's all my good. Let's get started. So friends, well, now I have a sheet. Of course, I take a watercolor sheet. That is the one on which you will write. I drew it like this into 4 squares and cut out 1 square. This is the format I will have my postcard in. The square format is obtained, and that's what I got. Here I have a pencil line drawn right now. So what do I need to do? I take a cutter and cut it with a cutter. I don't have to cut it completely, because it will be 2 different parts, but slightly cut it to half the thickness. In general, here you need to practice a little, and you will definitely succeed. There is nothing complicated. That is, I'm cutting now, but not in full force, but slightly, just so that the top layer of paper I have was cut. I cut everything. I'm going to show you everything now. Let me erase the pencil so that my incision can be seen. Here it is, and now I just bend it carefully, and it bends quite easily here, and it turns out that it's just so perfect. There's no other way to say it, to be honest, just a perfect bend. For comparison, friends, here I have exactly the same paper here, exactly the same, with the same characteristics. From one sheet they are, and now I'm going to try to bend the paper without a cut. Well, it turns out that's what happens. And here it is. And it's not lying, that is, I put it down, it opens. Take a look, and look at my joint. Just perfect. So well, my postcard turned out, and now I'm going to tape it on 4 sides to this wooden board. I'm sorry for the head. I'm not used to the new phone stand yet. And you know, since my format is about square, it looks more like a square, but I would like to have a more elongated one. Then I take tape and fix about 1 centimeter with tape from the right to the left and from above to below about ½ centimeter, and thus I get a more elongated format. In general, I recommend doing this on postcards, as if to attach it with tape, because then, when we tear off this tape, it turns out such a beautiful frame, and all the time the work looks more neat, more impressive. I don't always do that sometimes. Well, for beginners, I recommend doing this because it's an extra nice bonus. Because your picture will be as if in a frame. So, well, now we proceed to the pencil drawing. I'm literally drawing one horizontal line that will be the horizon, making it just above the center. We don't draw the horizon in the center, and I make two boats with just a few lines. That is, the basis of this yacht or boat, and the guides are two vertical straight lines. And I draw the same thing from below as a reflection. We have a very, very calm sea this time, and that's why I get a very literally one-on-one mirror image. It is not necessary to attach it with tape as I do, and in general, it turns out, yes, I haven't wetted the sheet completely right now, but however, you can go another way to wet this whole postcard and completely turn it on, as I usually do any of my other watercolor videos. There I will wet the sheet completely, wait 15 minutes for it to lie down with me, and then I attach it. But in this case, you see, yes, the paint will float a little on that part of the postcard where it should not float in general, although in classic postcards, the back part is usually white. But it can be your highlight that it will float a little bit on the back of the postcard, namely the color. If you do not draw according to this scheme, which I am doing now, but completely wet the sheet without tape, then attaching it to the org sheet. Of course, I pre-moisten what I have now with water. That is, I opened a little water. You can wait literally 2 minutes and do it with water again. I didn't donate. My picture is quite pale in saturation. I have strengthened these colors a little in my head, and I am already making them brighter. I make it brighter so that it is less melancholic. Although, you know, I'm looking right now in principle, when pale also looks good. The colors are cerulean, then lemon, orange, and so red. Well, when it turns out too bright, if it turns out that way, then we blur the color a little bit, and the water in this case is a reflection of the sky. Like a mirror, it reflects the sky. I continue to write in the same sequence. That is, if roughly speaking, I had a blue, yellow, red sky from top to bottom. Then here on the contrary, red, yellow, blue. I'm going around the base. This is the body of the yacht, but since the sheet was completely flooded with water, the paint still got a little bit on this hull of the yacht. Then it will be possible to take a little picture. And as for the waves, well, just a little bit. I have 3 or 4 of these horizontal strokes with a slightly darker paint. This is where, my dear ones, you just need to stop in time. A few strokes, literally. If you make 3 horizontal strokes, it will already be fine. That's it. And leave it. Then, of course, it will spread out a little somewhere. I'm now taking a synthetic brush, and between these dark guides, I'm taking a little paint. And this completes the first stage. Now I have a dry brush, so I moved a little horizontal straight lines in the background, a little more forged these ones. Well, I peed the sea a little bit. There are more horizontal guides. It is not necessary to do this. There really is a very, very calm sea. Then we wait for our card to dry completely. You can use a hair dryer, or you can put your tablet to the battery so that it dries faster and draw mountains. I have increased them a little more. There is such a thin strip of mountains there, you know. I did a little more. Here's my only advice here: don't make it too bright. So don't overdo it with brightness. This is still a long-term plan. It's still somewhere behind the yachts, and yet these two yachts play the main role here. I have just taken a synthetic brush, about the second number. It is perfect for small details, for writing postcards. And I start writing yachts, you know, well, almost without prescribing anything. I fill everything in with one color, and then you already have such a coloring begins, you know. You know what's good, and why I draw a lot of postcards when you are still, especially those who start painting. Sometimes you take a large sheet, especially paper, well, who draws on expensive paper, but it doesn't even matter if it's not so expensive. It's still on paper, and we still use it buying, yes. And you drew a big sheet, and something went wrong, you made a mistake somewhere, you didn't like something. In this regard, the postcards are not so sorry, but here you have drawn a small format. That is, the degree of learning ability is a little higher here. If I say to draw the sea beautifully, then you need to write 10 works of the sea. Here, under the word works, it does not matter what format you will have. If you learn to write the sea on a small postcard, then you will write it perfectly on a large format. But you are making a small postcard literally. It took me 20 minutes in total. Well, maybe half an hour is the most, then a lot of work, respectively, needs more time for it. So it is advantageous to draw postcards, not only from the point of view of making someone nice, giving this card, but also the learning process, as it were, in this regard, is faster. That's when we draw on small formats. I'm now taking a thin brush and slightly adding a light trimmer like this in motion, so that when I write a reflection of the trimmer, yes, when you write naturally, what I'm doing now, try to have thin, even lines. They may be intermittent somewhere. The center of this vertical guide, unfortunately, I never looked at what it's called. It is solid, it is a little more thorough, but what we draw on the sides are thin lines, and the reflection of the yacht's hull is almost the same, and then I lower these guides slightly, a small wave. Well, you know, as usual, birds are for romanticism, for more saturation. But this is the kind of postcard I got. Friends, subscribe to Instagram. As I see it, there you will find all the references of the work. There I post your work. Mark this account on the works that you post on Instagram, which you write according to my lessons. I see it that way, and I will post your work in it and give you recommendations. We remove the tape. It turns out such a spectacular frame, and here is such a postcard. Thank you very much for watching. All the best to you. See you again.